Welcome to Keep the Hotel Empty. Today we've kept the hotel empty for Medium Valentina Marie Lomborg. Valentina, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so stoked that you could come. I know Seth has been trying to get you in for a minute, and the stars have aligned, and here you are. So I'm grateful to be able to get a chance to hear from you today.
Yeah, me too.
So I know your story starts in Denmark and ends up here in the Tampa area, but spans quite a journey in between, not only physically, but the things you've done in these places is a smattering that I don't even want to try to couch in a neat little introduction. So I would like it if you could maybe press rewind for me and take me back to where you see your road starting, you know, maybe in Denmark, maybe when you get out of Denmark. Give me a little bit of what the beginning of the road looks like for you.
Oh, gosh. I feel like I've been given so many roads, you know. It's like each road took me so far, and then suddenly there was like a detour, and then the next road started, and I feel like my life has stopped and started over many times, you know, and I guess I've been fortunate, you know. Some people keep on that road and don't really see the other options or accept the options that are offered to them. And so every time I started over, I think it was just because that road had, you know, gone from asphalt to dirt to we're not even making a road anymore. So I'm very grateful that there's been a lot of stops and starts, sometimes in the same area, sometimes just starting over in a whole new country. I tend to be relatively daring, and I'm like, okay, what would life be like living in Hawaii? Because that was a bucket list to live on an island. And so I picked Hawaii because, you know, it was still America and still American money and rules, you know, versus if you go to Cayman Islands or something, you kind of have to start over. So I did that, tried that, and that was relatively lonely because you think everyone will come and visit you in Hawaii, but, you know, nobody did. So it was a learning curve, you know, but as far as my life, I think the turning point for really my gifts started over 30 years ago when a traumatic brain injury from an accidental fall triggered all those gifts. And then I kind of pushed it aside because I was busy modeling in LA and I wasn't thinking about being a psychic. It's not like I woke up and said, let's be a psychic, or I had a
Right.
you know, long string of family members that was psychics. This was just all something that happened unintentionally and uninvited and then became part of my life slowly as I integrated it in.
So what did that kind of switch in road feel like? Because that seems to be amongst all of the travels and places that you've been, that's the most significant place where a new road picked up.
Yeah, I would say so. Whatever I've got going on, I tend to dedicate my life and trips and things like that around that. Just like when I became a scuba diver, from now on, every holiday meant shark diving. You know, it all had to encompass diving in ocean. It was no longer about sitting by the pool having cocktails. You know? So the same with being psychic. I ended up moving into a house from 1925 in Pasadena, California, which a lot of that is burnt now. I don't know if my house is still standing. But so there was that. And then any travel, it was like, oh, is there a haunted hostel I can stay at? You know, everything has to now be about ghosts and dead things and, you know, kind of gloomy, I guess. Whoever I'm with doesn't really find it that exciting. I think I'm the only one that's like, okay, this place is haunted. Someone died here. Let's stay, you know. But most people, I mean, you know, unless they're paranormal, they're like, okay, she's kind of weird. Everything is about death. But you know.
Well, that seems to be kind of part of the daring portion that you've had your whole life, you'd say?
Yeah. I mean, really, life to me, and anyone that knows me will say, V just lives her life to the fullest. You know, there's like no rules, basically. It's just whatever I feel like doing at the moment. And some of it's pretty crazy. That's just how I live my life. I wouldn't say reckless, but it's very cautiously reckless.
What do you think are some of the things either about your personality or your experiences that lead you to do that comfortably?
I guess I'm very fearless. Like, people always ask me, what are you afraid of? And I have to think, like, really nothing. I mean, when I had my paranormal team in LA, I would send everyone in the darkest depths of the building and I would sit down somewhere in the cellar, all in the pitch black by myself. I just feel comfortable with myself. I feel comfortable in darkness. I feel comfortable with sharks, with ghosts. Everything that should make people afraid is what I run towards, whether it's adrenaline, dark places, scary places. I feel to me it's all in the mind. And if you set yourself up for that, you've already psyched yourself into that fear stage. Versus if you just kind of go in blindly, like whatever happens, happens. And so I approach everything like that. Whatever happens, happens.
Do you remember the first time or some of the early experiences where you were able to embrace that reality as something you could ride with?
Well, I think it started back home in Denmark because I was an only child, first of all. And so I had no friends. I was always just left down in the cellar to play by myself. And I had all my toys set up. So already at an early age, like age 2 and 3, I was already used to being in a super scary place with dark corners and spiders. And so at that point, I think it just got ingrained in me that, hey, it's just a room. It might be dark and there's dark corners, but it's still a room. So it already, started early that, hey, now I think back, I'm like, holy cow, I was playing in this dark cellar by myself. But, it just felt normal to me.
Right. That's the thing.
That's my normal.
Well, yeah, exactly. What's normal? What's normal?
Right.
So you get to the point where you've gone through all of these journeys. You spent time in Alaska, right?
Yes.
And I guess that has to kind of be somewhat of a seed to have the dream to live on a tropical island, no?
That too. And, each place came with its own scary things. There it was just going out and freezing to death because of 70 below temperatures, and polar bears walking in at any time from across the ocean. So I think with each thing, I just embraced, okay, what is there to be afraid of here? Okay, great, let's go for it,
Right.
So, yeah, it's so funny because when I picked Hawaii, I thought, gosh, I've lived in the most northern state in the world. And now I'm living in, it's like two opposites. The
right.
coldest, snowiest, remote, and then we go remote, but like hot. And so I was like, I've done both of they're actually considered the lower 48. The 48 states are in the middle, and then 49 and 50 are on the ends, and I've lived in both. So I thought that was kind of funny as well.
And that's what I was just going to say. Do you find yourself when you get interested in things like scuba diving or any such thing that you want to explore the extremes first?
Yeah.
Do you look for the edge?
I do. When I finally left, moving here, and then I learned that Key West was the most southern point. I'm like, oh, I must get to that southern point because I've been at the most northern point. So I was like, okay, we can take that box off, So I look for things to do. Social media obviously throws a lot of stuff in your face.
Right.
I see these steps that go up, and I see this hand. I don't know if you've ever seen the cement hand you can sit in after you crawl up all these steps. There's like extreme trains going on the edge of the mountain. I'm like, okay, bookmarking all of this. I don't know if I'll get to it all, but I definitely like to do the weirdest, wildest things I can find. Quirky.
What is the feeling that you get when you do those things, aside from the psychic parts? And is it a sense of like calm and relief, or is this the sense that you're in the right place at the right time?
Yeah, I have these signs that go back and forth between the universe and I. They give me signs to let me know that I'm supposed to be there. I'll give you an example. Like sometimes. Well, this is way off the. One day I was pitching an idea to a company, and as I'm driving there going, this is really scary. I'm going to pitch this in front of all these suits. The company goes by on an 18-wheeler, and I was like, okay, I'm meant to do this. I'm going to keep going. So little things like that, whether it's my initial V or my birthday or something comes by, it lets me know that, okay, you're in the right place. Don't turn around. Don't, keep going. And so a lot of it is it brings calmness, really. It's like, okay, I got this out of my system. What's next? I'm always on to the what's next, you know. As soon as I'm leaving a place, I'm like, okay, what's next? What are we doing next, V?
Love that. Well, that just dovetails into your fearlessness and your daring. But then let me kind of get back to where your abilities start to become more present to you. When you have this traumatic head injury, this is scary.
Yeah.
When you start to recover from any type of injury, let alone one that can have neurological impacts, this is very unknown. This can be very unsettling for people. What was that initial time like when you're recovering, and how quickly are you starting to notice your changes in intuition and insight?
Well, the whole thing was, I mean, I'm not joking when I say a freak accident. I went to kick my boyfriend in the leg because he had said some smart ass thing. And his hand caught my leg and flipped me up in the air and slammed me back down onto the ground, like this kind of, you know, no carpet kind of floor. And so I started getting very sick immediately. Apparently, I had severed my meninges in the back of my spine, which caused an infection, which caused meningitis, which is deadly.
Mm-hmm.
So for 4 days, I just sat with 104 fever. My eyes were completely photophobic, which means I had sensitivity to light. And I'm like, God, I think I've got the flu. I've got the flu. So by the time I get to hospital, they're calling in a neurologist. And I'm thinking, but I just thought I had the flu.
Right.
And he's like, we almost lost you. You were slipping into a coma. I'm like, but I thought I just had the flu. Like, it's not registering, you know, that I almost died. And I'm still like, well, I thought it was just the flu. And so from there on, when they finally released me and, you know, they got rid of the meningitis, the infection, I just realized I couldn't feel anything anymore, pain, temperature. I couldn't taste anything. Like, everything disappeared. And I had to adjust my life to, like, God, I can't taste it. I'm choking when I eat, so I'm going to stop eating. So I got dangerously low, down to 108 pounds. I couldn't, I would hop out, I would go to the shower and come out, and I'm scalded everywhere because I couldn't feel the temperature. So adapting to all these things that the brain injury had actually done, and once that came into fruition, like, oh my God, like, this was really serious. And nobody could find anything wrong. My mother was dragging me to every doctor, and they're like, we don't know what's wrong with her. So I just gave up on everyone and said, okay, well, this is my life now. And then once the gifts started kicking in, I'm like, whoa, now what's happening? It's like, you know, I'm already dealing with physicalities, and now I'm hugging people and telling them you've only got this long to live, and call your mother because she's going to die soon. And all this unwanted information started feeding in, and I kept pushing it away because I'm like, I'm a nut job. Like, you know, I don't know what to do with this.
Well, plus in dealing with the physical nature, it was already a tall order.
Yeah, because I'm more concerned about trying to maneuver my life now. Everything, also my hearing was so acute. Like, I could hear tiny little sounds in the wall. And I'm just like, God, this is already just too much to adapt to what's happening to me, let alone now information's already going to come in about people I don't even know. So it was like, that's where the pushing out of the thing came from. You know, I just didn't want it.
And how old were you at that time? You were still regular in your career, living life?
Yeah, I was 23. You know, I was modeling. So also, I think, because the focus was on that, I was like, modeling, I have something going on. I don't have time. I mean, psychics weren't really talked about back then in the 90s, you know, late 89. It was just kind of one of those things. I mean,
you were either Madame Cleo or Dionne Warwick.
Exactly. You know, I didn't know who any of it. I didn't know what this was or what it was called, or, you know, so of course I pushed it away. But I did keep a book. I still have the little book because it was pretty small. Every time a prediction came in, I wrote it down, and then I wrote down when the prediction happened. And suddenly the book just started filling up. And that's when I knew something was going on, because it's like, okay, it's not just a little cutesy couple of pages. Like, it was nonstop.
Thank you for sticking with us. We hope you're enjoying the episode. We'd like to take this time to talk to our sponsor for this week, Tony Barrett from Barrett Realty.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate you having us on the show. Barrett Realty has been in business for 20 years, and we are a boutique real estate company. And I look forward to servicing our community with people that want to buy and sell property. I think it's very important that we're out there advocating for personal property rights. And we want to be the people that you select when it comes to buying and selling homes. So please, if you're interested in buying or selling homes in Manatee, Sarasota, or surrounding counties, reach out to us at Barrett Realty at 941-745-9999 or brmovesyou.com.
Again, we'd like to send a big thanks out to Tony Barrett, Barrett Realty, for sponsoring this episode and being an awesome part of this community. Please enjoy the rest. What was that like?
It was strange because I started somehow, and I think it's just because I worked in Hollywood, but I would tune into celebrities and I would go, oh my God, aren't they dead? And then I'd Google them and like, no, they're not dead. And then 2 days later, they would die. And so I was like, why would I even start thinking about this certain person, celebrity that's still alive? And then a couple days later, they died.
Right.
And that started happening many times. And so I was like, gosh. And I would call people and say, you know, your dad's not going to make it. You should probably call in everybody from all the states. And they're like, I'm not going to do that. Okay. 2 days later, they died. How did you know? And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know. I just get fed information, you know, and whether people look at me like I have 3 heads or whether they believe me is up to them. Like, I'm just the messenger.
Exactly. Did you find that in the onset, these things were starting to come to you at particular times, or it would just be, for no other way of couching it, just out of nowhere?
Mostly out of nowhere. I wish I could say, okay, from 4 to 6, that's when
Or I mean, like,
I'm open, you know.
Like, you know, it wasn't like you were sitting there meditating on it. Or...
No, not at all. Like, a lot of times stuff comes when I'm in the shower, and I will step out, text whoever I am, soaking wet, going, you know, you better check this now. Because I feel like it must have come at a time where it's needed, so we can't waste any time. You know, I don't have time to turn off the shower, dry. This information needs to go to this person now. And I started thinking, why do so many messages come during the shower? I'm showering. But I think because water's a conduit, so I feel like somehow it makes it stronger. And other times it's in the middle of sleeping. So I keep a notepad right next to my bed, and there'll be scribbles on top of each other because I'm half asleep when I'm writing. So yeah, there is no set time. It's just like whenever they need to get something.
Interesting. So at what point does this start to become prevalent enough in your life where you start to pay more attention to it? You start to put more of your day life into it, for want of a better way of putting it.
Yeah, once I fully opened up to it and said, okay, I get it. This is what you want me to do now. Modeling has ended, and now you want me to do this. I think I'm ready. The turning point was when I lost my father in 2015, and then 2 weeks later lost my mother. That was like my whole family, with the exception of my son. So at that point, I said, you know what? I have got nothing. Like, I don't have a modeling career anymore. I just really, there went my mother and father. I'm an only child. And so the pain that I was experiencing because I was so close to my mother, I realized the only way I can get rid of this pain is if I use my gifts to help other people. And in that way of helping people, I'm helping myself indirectly.
Right.
You know? So it became all about other people, which was really nice because I felt like modeling was always a very selfish thing. You know, it's like me, me, me.
Yeah.
And I hated that, but it was a paycheck. So once I could do this and help other people and make it about them, I felt better collecting a paycheck, you know, and I mean, obviously everyone needs to get paid for what they do, but it just, I felt better. It's like, wow, I lived a whole selfish life and now I live a selfless life. And I love the journey of just being able to help others understand the afterlife, death, and provide some sort of clarity and maybe lift their grief a little bit.
Right. What was the time between when you first start to have these things coming to you and that point where now you're opening up fully to it and you're saying, modeling is a past self-serving thing. Now I'm going to try to serve others. How much time was there in between those points?
Well, let's see. I retired from modeling at age 45, which is really old because most people last till they're about 18. Modeling career is short.
Yeah.
And I probably I started at age 2. So I would say that was, 4 decades. I have really milked that dry at this point here, even though I'm going to get back into it again. But there was a point where I just thought, okay, it's neatly, that flame is going out. And I love that. Because there was a moment where I was like, what the heck am I going to do now? I'm sitting here and so it kind of got dropped in my lap, and I thought, well, maybe I could just make these gifts stronger. And there really is I read over 50 books on psychics, and at the end of it I realized all this is information for you and your gifts. It really is not helping me become psychic. So after reading all these books, I ended up being self-taught and strengthening my gifts the way that I knew how, and grooming myself and mastering, in my own right. So the transition was about 5 slow years, from retiring. And then I had a paranormal group for a while, which just sort of groomed me to talk to dead things. But then ghosts are different from spirits up there, and ghosts are down here. But it was the beginning of that transition. Like, let me talk to ghosts first. Let me get comfortable with reading them and figuring them out. And then from there, I'll go to humans, or ghosts are humans too. But
Yeah. Well, okay, let's mission drift then for just a second. What for someone who would have those things be semantically the same, ghosts and spirits or whatever, how do you delineate between the two, and what does this mean in your journey of your abilities?
So ghosts are dead humans or animals that they don't have their body anymore, but their soul is still here in a little outline of their body. That's why we might see them physically. The proper way to die is that we should die. We shed our bodies, whether that gets buried in the ground or cremated, and then the soul leaves the body and goes back up into the universe, and then we'll find the next body and come back down again, and then it just recycles. So ghosts are stuck people that should be up there, but they're down here. And then spirits have passed properly and are up there.
Do you believe in or are at all familiar with what the Buddhists would call the in-between?
The kind of netherworld?
Yeah. Because this is the sort of to couch it and why I'm curious, or the part where it piques my curiosity is, we have another gentleman who's been on the show a few times named Dennis Brock.
No,
you're good.
My son.
No, you're good.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've had a gentleman on the show a few times named Dennis Brock. Dennis is incredibly intelligent, and he's wildly well read about the afterlife from various different theological standpoints and then just metaphysical ones. And one of the things that he describes quite a lot is the in-between, and that would be sort of the place, it sounds like you describe, where the spirit is away from down here.
Okay.
And that we can observe things, interact in certain ways, that everyone has what he calls a spirit group that's with them and people that you transition through lives with.
Yeah.
And when you're in the in-between, you can, for no other way of putting it, sort of choose when you want to come back. And some people stay gone and some people come back. And I'm curious what your experience is with entities that you would put in that second category, in that spirit away from down here group.
Okay. So interesting. I have a place called, I may have named it something else, but we'll call it the lobby. When I'm channeling suicides, They don't seem to be up in the general populace where most people, if you die naturally, unnaturally, car accident, things like that weren't self-inflicted, you go straight up. First, I go and search for people there, and when I can't find them, strangely enough, I figured out that they were over in this box on the side. They don't get to go straight up. They have to go over here and go through a lot of meeting and orientation, and then they get let back in there because they ended their life before it was time. So I have kind of a lobby waiting area, limbo, if you will. I do know that when I've talked to some up there, they wait to start their next life because they still have family members that they would rather sit up there and keep track of. Because once they start the next life, it's almost like everything else gets erased. Okay.
Right.
So they now are focused on that life, and they cannot be part of if family members are still here. They're already on to their next thing. So they may wait behind up there until most of the people that they want get up there, and then they all come back down, and we'll all go our separate ways and start the next life. But if they are concerned and want to look out and protect whoever's still left here, they will usually stay before they start the next life.
How do you view or quantify people's interconnectedness in that way?
Down here? Or
Between down here and all of our interconnectedness, the significance of our interconnectedness when we are here physically sharing space and when we are with space between us?
It's just all of it is energy. That's the best place to put it. We're all defined as energy, whether that's electrical, people. Everything has energy, and it's just a matter of either wanting to tune into that and connect or not. I think if people aren't connected, it's generally because they just didn't know how to tune into that. You know, we could tune into a plant. I mean, I could talk to a tree. You know, if you open up enough and are receptive, like a beacon, then it's very easy to connect and get along with anything on the planet, including over there on the other side.
What do you think the nature of that reality is?
Ooh, that's what do I think? That reality? I mean, we all came from up there, and then we got spat down here, and so we run around, but eventually we will go back up there again. So it's all interchangeable, really. I mean, there's only, they call it a veil between us, you know, and I can pop in and out of that veil whenever I need. Anybody can, really, you know. But I mean, it's not for everyone. It's very intense.
That's what that's going to take me. Do you remember the first time it hit you that that's what you were experiencing, or that's what you felt you were experiencing?
Yeah, I was like, I was up all day and night. I was wandering around. I was waking up, writing stuff down from the people on the other side, the fifth dimension. I would write like 20 pages of stuff they would tell me, and then I'd fall back asleep. And in the morning, I'd be, who the hell wrote this? Like, that wasn't me. And I'm just getting all this information, and it was overwhelming. Like, when I first became awake, I was just like, holy cow, this is too much. I don't want it. I don't want to know all this information. It was so much.
That seems to be a common experience amongst people who have similar proclivities as you, correct?
Yeah. It was just like, I mean, you've gone your whole life, and then everything you've learned is suddenly wrong. And now, I don't know if I was angry at all the BS I'd been told, or if it was just like, gosh, all this time I've been fed lies, and now I'm getting the truth from the universe, and I don't want to trust another human again. Like, it just does a redo on your whole brain. It's just like, God. But I will tell you, once I got out of it, I've never been happier and more at peace, because I could just live this fabulous life to my own liking, and my whole life, all day, every day is spent just like about inner peace and contentment and no conflict. And so it really took all the things I thought was important as a human and shifted them in the back burner, and like, now I just live for laughter, positivity. I know it's very hippie and cheesy, but, you know, that's what really matters. That's how you get through life, not all the worry.
How, and I know this might be a bit of a loaded question too, but why do you think it is that regardless, or I shouldn't say regardless, but somewhat irrespective of the paths that people take, a lot of people come to that conclusion you just said? It's just about the love. It's just about the positivity. Why is it that that's the thing we all keep coming back to when we feel like we had this aha thing? What do you think the power is there?
Well, my philosophy is that the universe is just this big blob of love, and that's all that is. I know there's all these songs, love is all you need, and
Right.
all this, but there's a reason that they wrote all these, because I think they were connected to the universe, and the universe is just made up of love, and that's all that's instilled in us, and that's all we should use as payment. That's all we should use to navigate life. I mean, love is everything. It really is. If you just extend love to somebody, that's more valuable than money. I mean,
Right.
we need money, but that was something created for humans. But really, love does so much more, whether it's reaching out to a homeless person or all of that. If you do everything in love, you can't go wrong.
That sounds like it should be a sticker or a T-shirt. So you might have just written your song right there.
No, but it's like so simple, It's just the difference between breaking down a Karen, let's say, is just extending some love. Everyone needs love. Everyone lacks love. There's a lot. Everything is based off of love, and how people treat others and how they view themselves is due to lots of love or lack of love at home. It all stems to love to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, amen to that. I can go on with that.
I know I sound so cheesy right now.
No, but that's
Love.
perfect. So, but that's perfect, because I wanted to ask you, when is it that you start now, and how is it when it starts resonating with you that you're able to help others? What were those first couple times like where you were like, oh, I've used this overwhelming thing that's made me get up and write 20 pages in the night. Now I'm actually able to help somebody. What did that look like in the onset?
Well, gosh, I mean, it was more like, okay, let me just set up and, well, I remember how it started. Yeah, the beginning of it was really, I went on Facebook and I asked a few people. I said, hey, would you like to have a reading? I need to test my gifts out and see if they really work. Well, I ended up doing 30 readings in 1 week, and it was pretty dead on, no pun intended. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I have something.
And what was that like, though? I don't mean to cut you off, but in
No.
these first 30 readings, when the first person sits down from you, is it instantly you start to have some type of intuition as to their state or the state of their loved ones? Or how does this happen? How does this kind of feel?
Okay, well, so here's the funny thing. All my Facebook friends were in other states. So all I asked them for was, send me a photo of yourself. I'm going to sit down in my own time and tune into the photo and make notes. I never talked to them. I never saw them. I don't know anything about them because, honestly, even though I have Facebook friends, I don't really follow what they're doing.
Yeah, right.
Because I never know if they're going to suddenly ask me for a reading, and I don't want anything to taint, if I saw their post or something. So I don't know who dies or lives in their life. I just go about my day. So then I said, here's your, it's 1 or 2 pages. I'm like, here, let me know if anything makes sense. And I just kind of like sent it back to them, and they're like, oh my God, this. And I was like, okay, that's kind of, I was still kind of in self-doubt mode, And so a lot of people wrote me and they're like, oh, V, I'm sorry I missed that. Could I have? And I thought, okay. So I ended up doing another 30 that week. And this was all for free because, I just wanted to see if I had anything. I wasn't comfortable charging. And then that went well, and I thought, okay, I guess I can try to make this a business because obviously I have to make a living. So that's where all that came about. And then I set up readings in Pasadena in my house, and people started coming. And I thought, okay, great. And then all of a sudden my parents passed, and that threw everything so upside down that I thought I have to clean up their estate and everything of theirs. And I've got so much to do because I'm an only child. So I had to do it all myself. So I probably took, I don't remember, well, from February till July, I just day and night, that's all I was doing was handling my parents' things. And then by that time I realized, well, why am I in LA anymore? I'm not modeling. My son's doing his own thing. I don't have parents. So that was when I decided I was going to just move someplace else. And I didn't really know where. It was between Austin and Florida. And when it came time to decide, I said, I really need help on this. I don't know where to go. Either one's going to be brand new to me. I know nobody there. And so I went to budget car rental, truck rental, and they said, well, if you don't want to put it on a moving truck, we can put it in this big container and then put it on a truck and deliver it. So there's a whole row of 20 containers, and the first container they point to says Florida. So I said, okay, thank you. I went home, packed everything up in 2 weeks, and off to Florida. I don't know anyone, but the sign came so clear from the guides when I needed it, because I didn't really know where I was going.
Right. That's interesting. Well, there's two questions I want to ask you, but I'm going to ask you this one first. This is a question I like to ask a lot of people. It's kind of cheesy, but it's a question I like to ask a lot of people. And you are the perfect person to ask, especially given that story. Do you believe in coincidence?
No. Nothing to me is coincidence. Are there synchronicities and things set up to give you the wink or the thumbs up from the universe? Absolutely. But nothing to me is coincidence. It is all predetermined and set up in order to have placement to let you know that everything's okay. This is what you should do.
Where's the line between that and determinism?
I mean, I guess most of the time, I wouldn't say I live an aloof life, but a lot of the things, all my actions are guided by the universe. I rarely, I mean, is my life on automatic? Maybe. But I don't really have to think a lot. Now I sound like a bimbo.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean, because I trust. I have this thing with
I
the
was gonna
universe,
say, it's not a
and
matter
that's
of
why it says trust here, because I have to remind myself, hey, you're having a moment, just give it to the universe. Some people, if you're religious, are going to say, give it to God. God, the universe, are all one to me. So I just give it to the universe, and whatever they decide for me, that's it. It takes the pressure off of me having to decide.
right.
Because I think as humans, we tend to decide things and then we blame. We like to blame someone else if it goes wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's why people come to me, because it's like the psychic said, so
Yeah.
they don't have to be blamed. You know, I get blamed. So
Right.
that's more pressure on me to be right, because I don't want to be blamed. But I don't blame the universe if things go wrong. Then I go, okay, well, this is what the failure even was something they wanted me to have. I don't look at failure like, oh my God. I look at that like, okay, failure was the universe's way of saying you did it a little wrong or you were off topic. But even failure has a lesson in it, and I take that lesson and I move forward.
What do you think you see? I'm going to circle back to the one I wanted, but you keep giving me some more curiosity. I'm too curious.
Did I answer the question?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But you said something interesting when you said God and the universe are the same thing to me.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the semantics that go across the pantheon of beliefs from woo to rigid Catholicism?
I know. Now I'm going to get in trouble.
Well, because there are a lot of, if we look at it as a Venn diagram, there's a lot of overlapping spots and there's a lot of semantical spots and there's a lot of time where people seem like they're saying the same things, they believe the same things, just in different ways. What are some, I guess more my operative question for you are, what are some more of the universalities you see in things where you can say these are the things that equate? This is my God in the universe is a semantical thing. You know, what are some of the more universal things we got at play here that you see?
Well, I formulated my own theory because I honestly have gone through so many religions. I was Seventh-day Adventist when I was married to my first husband. My mother had Mormon friends. She had a nun in Germany. I was raised Protestant, apparently. My stepfather was Episcopalian. So after a while, I even wrote a little poem about how many religions I've had, you know, come through me, channel through me, or funnel through me. And I started seeing similarities of things. So I took a little bit from everyone, but I ended up being Buddhist because it's very peaceful and just very basic, kind of simple, no-brainer kind of thing, you know, common sense kind of things.
Right.
And what I found from religion is it's very organized. There's a lot of rules and it's very limited. And that's the thing about religion is in a box. And if you don't do this, you're outside the box, and how dare you? When you connect with the universe and God, you're connecting to 100% truth. And it's coming from the source. So you can't go wrong. And it's limitless. I'm always learning stuff from the universe. Once you've compounded the religion, there isn't much more else to learn but those rules.
Right.
It's very ruly. So I love the freedom of being connected to the universe and always learning more and learning from the actual teacher. You know, God to me is man and woman. God is everything. Animals. I mean, God is everything. We are God because we're all connected. So naturally, God is a machine. God is a dog. God is a cat. God. We are God and God is we. So it's interchangeable. So we're everything.
Do you find that when you come to that realization, if you work with people ever that have a religious connotation or whatever, that's almost threatening?
I try to just avoid religious people because nobody's paying me to sit and talk for 8 months to them, you know? It's
Yeah, right.
Like, I mean, I've gotten in fights because I do have on my car, there's magnets that say what I do. And
Yeah.
one day I went to Publix and 2 guys were standing outside smoking cigarettes that saw me pull up. And they're like, who are you talking to? You're talking to the devil. And I'm like, I said, honey, the devil can't even afford me.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just like, and then one guy was kind of on board. His friend was a little nicer. I said, look, I talk to angels just like God. And he understood a little more, but I could tell his friend was, you know, opposing. And I thought, you know what? I don't have this kind of energy, time of day to stand and waste my time till I'm blue in the face.
You're right.
Talking to someone that is always going to give me a brick wall. He either needs to find out, and I told him that. I said, I walked off after I said to him, you need to discover what you're for yourself, you know, and find your own answers. It's not for me to give you the answers, and, you know, church isn't going to give you much either, but really seek it out yourself. Open up, meditate. And then I walked off and I left him kind of like,
Yeah, you got to leave them thinking.
yeah, because it's like, who are you to judge? I'm sitting here doing good work and you know, go get in a fight with a criminal or something. But
Yes.
I am not one to be picked on.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, and then okay, so this is going to actually universally lead me right back to the question that I left behind. Did you do the initial experiment that you did with having people just send you pictures and you just kind of vibe off it, or however you want to put it? Maybe that's too kitschy of a way to put it. But did you do that to sort of dissuade any people's connotations or maybe your own thoughts that this is cold reading, this is just being able to be more intuitive than people who aren't paying any attention at all?
Yeah, I mean, I test myself to the max. Like, I'm really good. It's called psychometry. It's holding objects, picking up information from objects. I can, I didn't know that photos are also a type of psychometry, but I'm very good at reading photos. So a lot of the times from people will send me a picture of their boyfriend or girls that they're dating, and they're like, what do you pick up on this guy? Is this a good guy? Is this a good girl? So I'm really good at reading photos, which is helpful for missing persons, because then I just say, send me a photo, let me tune into the photo. So I am able to read people's energy through the photo. So, and I've tested it because when I do like psychic parties, I've never met any of the people that come to my house anyway. But it's cold reading. It's just like, sit down, let me give you information. Even when I read my friends, I have to sit and go, okay, I know this about them. Whatever I do know about a person, I have to push that away. That cannot be part of the answer. You know, I'm a very credible person, and I have a lot of integrity. And so anything that I already know, if they're like, yeah, I have a blue car, okay, we can't use blue car. You know, so I'm very adamant about just making sure that the information I'm getting is 100% received. I do not, even though people have to give me their phone number, I don't look up anybody. I don't look up their phone number, their email. I don't even have that kind of time anyway, if I wanted to be unscrupulous. But I just, everything is 100% from this person, you know.
What is that like? And the reason why I'm asking is I don't tell too many of my own anecdotal stories when I'm hosting the show, but this time I'm going to. I had one experience with a medium, and when I first sat down with her, she just started like torrent of conversation.
Yeah.
Just torrent. And she got maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes into it, which felt longer because she was just spewing information. Yeah. And she stopped and she said, I'm so sorry. This normally doesn't happen to me, but you've got quite a spirit group with you, and they're all talking to me at once.
That's funny.
Is that at all akin to how it is for you, or is the experience for people that have the insights and intuitions and ability like you do somewhat different from one to the next?
Every psychic is different and every medium. That's why when people sit down with me, I always explain, I'm not the Long Island medium. I'm going to be totally different.
Right.
My nails are shorter. I don't have big hair. It's just everybody's different. So I don't want people to come in with the expectation, okay, well, she does this. I don't necessarily rattle off stuff very quickly. My stuff is slower, more, because I do have a lot of people talking in my head, and I have to, it's so much chatter that I have to find what's clear and just take the clear things that come. But the thing also, because it was so overwhelming in the beginning, that I actually found a switch to be able to turn it off. And so that is a blessing, because now it's not, I can have some of my own thoughts every now and then come in. And I have discovered, though, it's weird, and it took me a while to figure out, but when I get massages, I guess because they are touching me, I'm connected to the massage therapist, and so stuff comes through every time I'm getting a massage. And really, I just want to relax and get a massage. I don't know why it happens.
No kidding. They should be paying you at that point.
Yeah, it's like, who's helping who right now? Because
Right?
suddenly I'm like, your uncle. And then they stop, and I'm like, no, it's still my massage. But
It's like, God, I shouldn't have said anything.
I didn't know. It is weird. And then I started thinking, why does that happen? I said, maybe because it's so intimate, and immediately, because my mind is on the massage, but it's that touch that just
Right.
instantly makes that connection. And so now I've stopped going to massages because I'm a little where I just want to relax.
You got to get a massage chair.
It's like just wear a tin outfit or something.
Yeah.
A tin hat.
Well, that brings up another good point. You said earlier that, you can cross between, and then you quickly followed up with, well, anybody can.
Yeah.
What do you think is the big difference between those that do and those that haven't?
Skepticism and it took a lot. Like I said, when I first tried it out, I went on Facebook and I thought, because people were telling me you're psychic. And I'm like, no, that's people on TV. I'm not psychic. And they just kept at it, you're psychic. And I'm like, okay, let me just try it. I was still a skeptic when I was trying it out. And then once people started validating everything, I was like, okay, maybe there is. I was so slow to do that. And so I can, people come to me, and I also teach people how to be psychic and work with their gifts. And people will come and, I see this. What's happening to me? And I just say, well, let's figure out how to work with your gifts. But, a lot of people doubt things they see or feel. And so it doesn't quite get off the ground. It's like there's not enough fuel for the rocket to soar. So people kind of push it away.
Do you think that's like the blanket of our terrestrial senses that won't let us get out from under it?
Yeah, because and this is going to be out there, but, aliens speak telepathically. And we were designed to speak telepathically amongst ourselves. And so whether you learn that with the human sense or, to connect with aliens, I think it's important just, or maybe you just want to read your mother's mind or, your children's mind. It takes a lot of dedication and focus. When I am in my zone, it's like a lot of focus. And I don't think the human brain, with most people having ADHD these days, can zero in for that long.
Yeah, we're less than a goldfish now, apparently.
I'm telling you, the attention span. So I don't think a lot of people, unfortunately, are cut out to even just whether they do it as a career or just on a daily basis, I try to just help people do it on a daily basis because I tell people, look, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy because it is so much pressure. I live and breathe this, it's eating, it's resting, everything. Just like if you're going to be a bodybuilder, you have to adjust your life to bodybuilding.
Right.
I adjust my life to being a psychic, and I don't go to a lot of public places. There's a lot of weird stuff that encompasses being me.
Do you find that you have to keep like some of the noise of the world down?
Yeah. I don't have any news. The minute I started realizing that I connected to every victim on the news and was crying my eyes out, I stopped watching news. I have a hard time driving past accidents on the road where there's a blanket on the road, and I just pull over and I start bawling because I can feel everything. And so I had to really train myself to curb that down and start disconnecting more to everything, which now makes me come across relatively cold and uncaring. And I'm extremely caring and empathetic, but I had to stop. I had to unplug.
Yeah.
Even with my friends, like my friend, my son, my dog, I can feel my dog all day long. I can feel my dog's boredom. And it's like, I'll keep that one plugged in. But I with my dog's bored, I feel bad that I caused the dog to be bored. I feel it all, and it becomes too much. Like everything I can pick up on, the energy of trees, animals. And so sometimes I'm like, God, where am I? Where are my thoughts? Where are my feelings? I don't know. They get pushed so far behind because all I do is pick up things all day that sometimes I just need a break. I have to go to Disneyland. Sometimes I don't even want to be in my own house. I go to a hotel just to get away from the energy in my house.
Right.
I do weird things just because it's like, I have to get away. I have to do something mindless where there's no thoughts going on, or I have to do something so silly that I'm just like Disneyland is just like, okay, this is great. This is positive and silly,
100%.
Yeah.
You got to try to distract yourself to the extreme at some point.
Yeah. So it does become very extreme, which falls in the nature of me anyway.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Find a shark to swim with. We'll not think about it for a minute.
The shark is my piece. Oh my God.
I know it. I love that. So I have two kind of loaded questions and then one easy one I can get you out of here on. Both about profoundness.
Okay.
You said you had suffered a traumatic head injury. That was part of what opened the door with this. Can you think of any other time, or did it happen in aggregate, or was there a most profound moment where you're like, this is real?
Oh, with the gifts, where suddenly I was like, yeah, I guess I have to go back to one of my earlier readings where this girl had lost her fiance, and here she is now with the baby. And well, back then I used to do 3-hour readings. I do not do that long anymore. I do 30-minute readings. And I just kept going because she was just so heartbroken, and I just fell for her. And all of a sudden he had me climb up a pole and fall down. And then he showed me his boots in the closet. And I'm like, he's showing me boots. Yeah, he had work boots. I go, okay, I'm climbing up and then I'm laying. And now sometimes I'm able to see things through the victim's eyes. So I was laying there looking at the ground. And I'm like, did he fall? She goes, yeah, he was an electrician or, those telephone pole guys. Mm-hmm. Fell, hit his head, died. And so I kept asking him in my head, I said, what is your name? What is your name? What is your name? Probably for 3 hours. All of a sudden it came and he goes, Robert. And I go, Robert. And she goes, yes. And I was like, holy cow. What did I just do there? Like, I just begged him for his name, and suddenly he gave it to me like it was nothing.
Right.
And that was the validation when I got that. And I was like, holy cow. That was the defining moment where I'm like, what is happening to me? How did I know his name? Like, total stranger, and seeing all these things that he took me through, and then he gave me his name. And I was like, wow, I think I do have a gift. It was a breakthrough, but it was scary at the same time.
Right.
Because it's like, what am I capable of here? Like, he's dead, and I got his name. I've never met this woman. It's like the whole time all of it's happening, what little brain is left for me is like, I'm having conversations with myself in there too. That's right. The thing. My brain is split into like 3 things. I have my own conversation, then I have the conversation with the deceased, and then a little section of my brain is still talking to the living too. So it gets dissected so you can only imagine with that much activity, how much is really going on in my brain. 3 different conversations and keeping track of all that. But I interject to ask questions too, because I'm like, this is crazy, And
you would say you didn't have any feeling of that prior to?
Not at all. It was just about going to Hollywood, to Paramount Studios or wherever I needed to go, and I was just a happy little bobblehead. And then all of a sudden everything got so intense.
Then this is the follow-up question, and maybe you've already answered that. Fair enough if is the case. What is the most profound experience you've had with your gifts?
Just when I strive for getting names, but it doesn't always happen, I feel that's like my trump card if I get a name. But even just the validation and the things that I get that I couldn't possibly know, even after all this time, it still blows my mind. Like after the client leaves, I am reeling. I am so high, first of all. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, how did you... Like, I still sit there and go, how did you... I mean, I should believe my gifts by now, but I still sit there and go, gosh, you cannot explain it any other way but that you're connected to something higher. And I started off as a skeptic, but I've had enough validation and so many crazy things come true and come into fruition. Even my psychic predictions, people are like, everything you predicted came true. I'm like... And I have this thing. I'm like, you must update me when things happen because I like to know I'm not crazy. And then,
Yeah.
Because it helps me. It's like, because when I'm saying it, it's just like, I'm just saying this stuff. It feels like it. And then when everything comes true, they're like, everything happened just like you said. I'm like, you're supposed to update me because I don't know.
Because in between, I might have been nuts.
Yeah, I know. I do. I need that little pat on the back because I still, in a weird way, I mean, you'd think after all this, I didn't doubt myself, but I still question the whole concept of it. It's just bizarre to me.
Well, when you live in a world that's so constructed antithetically in one way, it has, I don't know that that'll ever stop being.
Oh, I have a right to question. I mean, even I have a right to question myself and my gifts because I know I'm not making stuff up, but I still, it takes my mind further to like, wow, we really are infinite and connected and so much deeper than this ball here on earth that we live on. There's so much more. And it just makes me hungry because me, I like the weird and the bizarre. So this just, again, falls into like, this is right up my alley. I love knowledge. I love learning more. And I just love all this.
Well, we're going to get you out of here on a fun one, but I can already tell you we're going to have to invite you back for round 2 just to tell some of the interesting experiences you've had, places you've been, things like that.
Yes,
because that's a whole nother aside. I'm telling you, some people I say, well, if you ever everything come, I'm telling you right now, you're going to have to come back.
Yes, I will.
And we're going to have to introduce you to Dennis at some point too, because I think the two of you would have a wonderful conversation.
Yes.
Okay, so here's your fun one.
Okay.
If you could sit down and have a reading, for want of a better way of putting it, or just a conversation, open-ended, with any person who's here now, on Earth now, that you think would further or really be a good exploratory journey for your mind, who would it be?
Oh, gosh. Well, I would have loved to, well, I still can now, Prince.
Yeah.
But, I keep thinking Prince and Michael, I would probably want to sit and have some time when I could go in a really deep trance and sit and talk to them. And I still will do it. But, the Dalai Lama, honestly, I've always loved him so much. I almost saw him when I lived in Hawaii. He was down the street from me, and I saw the flyer too late, and he left. And I was like, I got this close to the Dalai Lama. But, yeah, I would sit and...
Well, that's because he's just holding off to meet him at a different point.
I know. I do love him. I just think he's wonderful. I would probably want to be his bestie and hang out with him and play checkers and just do all sorts, pick his brain. I think he's just so peaceful and compassionate. So yeah, I think I would want to sit and talk with him.
Awesome answer. Well, Valentina, I can't thank you enough for coming down and sharing with us. I'm so grateful that you finally got to be here for the first time, and we'll schedule round 2 after this.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You had awesome questions.
Thank
too.
you.